What the fuck is up, ballers? It's your boy Cody, and I'm joined with Corey. Um,
Yo,
Last time we broke down the AFC East a little bit. This time we're going into the West, and we're going to go ahead and start with the Denver Broncos. Corey, take it off with.
obviously they got your boy Drew Lock, who just had kind of a weird car accident, and he was injured in no way. Lug nut flew off and almost through his windshield. Melvin Gordon, no Philip Lindsay. He is now a Texan, I believe. Cortland Sutton, obviously still on the receiving end of things, says he's questionable for the start of training camp with an ACL MCL knee issue. Is all it says.
Real fast, before we go too far past running backs, they did draft a running back in the second round with the third pick. Javonte Williams out of North Carolina. He had 19 touchdowns overall on the season. I didn't get too much into college last year, so I couldn't tell you a whole lot on per se just from what I'm reading, but it's a good pickup, and he'll be right behind Melvin Gordon, so he's definitely going to get some playing time. But, okay, we can move on. I just wanted to mention that he is the number 2 right now behind Melvin Gordon. So Royce Freeman is listed in 4th and Mike Boone in 3rd, but I don't see either of those being a factor. I think it's just going to be these two.
Yep, I just saw Mike Boone in their transactions page. They did end up picking up Teddy Bridgewater. So he's I had the word figured out that I wanted to use. Serviceable. He's a serviceable backup. He knows what he's doing out there. I mean, I just don't think he's going to win any Super Bowls.
Maybe that can bridge the gap over the water, hence the pun on his name, Teddy Bridgewater.
So stupid. Let's see who else. Ronald Darby signed for 3 years, $30 million. Let's see. Fully guaranteed is $19.5 million. Cornerback Kyle Fuller signed a 1 year, $9.5 million. And safety Kareem Jackson, 1 year, $5 million. That's really all the transactions. And I got ahead of myself before. I was just kind of reading the roster. But like I said, you got Drew Lock, Melvin Gordon, Cortland Sutton, is wide receiver 1, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 2.
Yeah, and let's break it down a little more. Like we talked about, Bridgewater's a decent QB, but I also don't mind Drew Lock. He did start 13 games, almost threw for 3,000 yards, had 16 touchdowns. The 15 interceptions is going to be a big problem. And if he decides to raise the touchdowns, that means he's going to have to throw more. Does that mean the interceptions raise more too? We're going to have a Jameis Winston season.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
But I don't have Bridgewater stats in front of me, but we know
I can look him up.
He's a good backup quarterback. He can start on some teams.
No, I can't look him up. I lied. Jeff Driscoll stats.
Yeah, Jeff Driscoll. We all want to see those stats. Let's not. Let's just keep moving on to running back, because Melvin Gordon, we already talked about the running back who's backing him up, in Javonte Williams, had 19 touchdowns in college. We'll see how he transitions. But Melvin Gordon had almost 1,000 yards, only started 10 of those games, had 9 touchdowns, also adding 32 receptions and 158 receiving yards. I always liked Melvin Gordon. The holdout year was kind of weird, and his first year in Denver it just felt weird to me, not seeing Melvin Gordon in a Chargers uniform.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be everybody though. It's going to be weird for Lindsey to be in a Texans uniform, but I don't mind Gordon. I thought Lindsey did a hell of a job last year. He got half the touches.
He won't be there though.
Well, I know this is what I'm saying. He got half the attempts that Melvin Gordon got. And let's see, where was he? He was pretty much putting up the same amount. He only started 8 games.
500
got
yards.
118 attempts, 502 yards. Yeah, and they're averaging about the same, almost 4.5 yards per carry. Why bring in somebody like Melvin Gordon who's gonna want a shit ton of money when you already had Philip Lindsay and now you let Lindsay go?
Yeah, because Lindsay was kind of like a hero story, not a hero story, but like an inspirational story at the time too.
Yeah, I mean he did what he had to do.
Did he? I don't. Did he even get drafted? I don't think he did.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
That's what was so special about his rookie year. He was I think he was undrafted, came in, and then just didn't tear up the league, but did something special in his rookie year without being mentioned at all in the draft. But wide receivers also, I think, where this squad, I wouldn't say is anything special, but it's intriguing. I love Jerry Jeudy. 52 receptions, had 113 targets, so he didn't even catch half of his receptions. I don't know. That could be QB air. Look who they had throwing to him. But
if that's the case, it'll be the same thing this year.
Yeah, but hopefully they get just a little more in tune. It's one more year extra. They're both on the team. They're both really young. But he had 856 yards, 3 touchdowns. It's lackluster, but Tim Patrick on the number 2 on the list had 6 touchdowns, 742 yards, and 51 receptions himself. Where Noah Fant, as the tight end, got all the love for the receptions. Well, not all of it, but majority of it was 62, 673 yards, and only 3 touchdowns himself. So not a lot of touchdowns to go around, but there are definitely some receptions. It just depends on how this team is going to play with a subpar quarterback, a proven running back, and a good rookie coming in behind him. I think they're going to run more often than not.
Yeah, I think they can be a little bit more balanced this year. Not this year, but I don't know. I think they can. I think they should be a little more balanced. You know, I think all these Jerry Jeudy, you're always trying to get the long bomb. Like his longest was a 92-yarder, Jerry Jeudy's catch. Like that's, I don't know how long the pass was, but his longest touchdown was a 92-yarder. And I feel like Drew Lock, he's kind of like a knockoff. He's kind of like a knockoff Baker, where he's going to want to try to be the it guy on the field.
Everyone thought Baker was the knockoff. Now it looks like there's knockoffs of the knockoff. But yeah, I like Drew Lock. They always said he had the one word that everyone kept using was the white guy with swagger. So I'm like, oh, okay, what the hell does that translate into Broncos football or fucking football in general? Swagger doesn't win you Super Bowls. It's fucking performance on the field and the team built around you. But whatever. Swagger.
All right, let's take a look at this defense here. Let's see if there's anybody. Obviously, Von Miller. I haven't heard anything. I would assume that his year is coming up very soon. Obviously, Bradley Chubb, there is something by his name. Questionable for the start of training camp with an ankle issue. I don't think there's any other. I don't even know who that is.
What are you even looking at?
I think I'm looking at the depth chart for their defense.
The defense as a whole had 42 sacks on the year. Pretty good at getting to the ball, at least. They allowed 47 touchdowns, which still lackluster.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, I think unless they filled some gaps in the defense in the draft, I think be almost consistent with what happened last year. But what they finished last year with? They went 5-11 last year. Maybe they win a couple more games. I don't see them knocking on the Chiefs, Raiders, or Chargers doors this year.
No. The one thing they're going to look at on defense, they're always going to be a serviceable defense in the league. I would say the better half. They did draft Patrick Surtain. I don't know how exactly to pronounce his last name. But quarterback out of Alabama. He was picked 9th overall, so he's going to hopefully be the star that they want him to be. He's going to play right behind Kyle Fuller. So they got an aggressive quarterback from Alabama, and Alabama produces stars. So we'll see how this goes for their defense as well. Only going to build it. But I think we're pretty much wrapped up in Denver.
Yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with their roster now and who moved where. So I think
we're into the offensive lines, defensive lines a little later before I make my yearly predictions. No injuries added, obviously. But let's go ahead and move on to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs transaction page here. Obviously, you're not doing nothing to quarterback. Running back, you have Jerick McKinnon signing a contract with the Chiefs. It does not say for how much or for how long. I believe he was, a 49er?
Yes, he was.
Last year.
He was one of the good 349 running backs.
And I can see why they traded him. He wanted a little more money. They already have 2 decent ones. Just let him go. I get it. I don't get it that the Chiefs picked him up.
No, because they still have Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams, and now Jerick McKinnon on top of that.
Le'Veon Bell.
No, Le'Veon Bell.
Unless he left, yeah. Yeah, you're right. He said he didn't want to play for Andy Reid.
Not want to touch the field with Andy Reid head coaching again for whatever reason. So
yeah, I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah. So that McKinnon was just a Bell replacement. So I don't think he's going to get much time unless an injury happens. But he is a great running. I think he's a great running back. Can start on a lot of teams, back up on a lot, good as well. Now he's a third on this team, only building to the Kansas City Super Bowl run yet again. So,
yeah. I gotta go over to where'd you go? But yeah, Demarcus Robinson, wide receiver, signed a 1-year deal. Re-signed. Okay, I was gonna say I thought he was already with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Who?
Demarcus Robinson, but it says re-signed. I just can't read.
Words are hard. Marcus Robinson re-signs. He's the third wide receiver on an already crazy wide receiving core. We all know Tyreek Hill, fastest man in the league. He's been calling people out. You've already mentioned that. I think he needs to call out some of the faster people, one being his own teammate, Jerick McKinnon, Raheem Mostert being another guy, insanely fast. But moving on, we got number 2, Mecole Hardman. Like I said, words are hard. And then Demarcus Robinson. That's third, and then Travis Kelce being probably his number one target, I would say. Tyreek Hill's an insane deep threat, but it just depends on who gets double covered for the day, I would assume. It was his number one target, but an insane offense. We don't have to say that. Everyone knows it.
And they did a lot of re-signing in this offseason too. So, I mean, it stayed pretty close to the same.
Team. They don't want to change too much.
Yeah, I mean, what would you? Let's see. Yeah, pretty much everybody else. Kyle Long, right guard, left practice on Thursday, questionable for the start of training camp with a knee. I like watching him play. Right defensive end, Frank Clark. Oh, I did not expect that. It said faces another felony charge.
As a red flag.
Let's see. Travarius Ward. What's his situation? Oh, it just says staying in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah. See, a lot of resigning. Tyrann Mathieu didn't resign, but they still got him. So this defense is not horrible, as we've already seen. It's not the best defense, but it's serviceable for how high-powered offense is. If they can just keep what is as is and then just draft some people to come in and learn from the system and everything, they can keep everything and keep going on these deep runs with a damn good coach in Andy Reid. They didn't have a first round pick, but in the second round they picked Nick Bolton out of Missouri, inside linebacker. It looks like they run a base 4-3-D. So that looks like he may be in the actual starting lineup for this defense. So we'll see how this all plays out. The defense isn't what we're all looking at anyways. This offense is where the stars are at.
Yeah.
It's not about
and I expect them
score on the Chiefs. It's about if you can outscore the Chiefs.
Yeah, because everybody knows you can score on them. It's just how often can you score on them?
Can you keep up with them? Yeah.
But yeah, I expect them to pretty much do the same exact thing as last year, lead the division, go back to another Super Bowl.
Can you keep up with 4,700 yards from Patrick Mahomes, 38 touchdowns, 6 interceptions?
Not many people can.
Can you keep up with 803 yards behind your number one back and having 2 more serviceable backs behind that as well? And Darrell Williams and now Jerick McKinnon, a wide receiver that had 1,276 yards, 15 touchdowns.
That's going to be tough for him.
Tight end with over 100 receptions, almost 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns himself.
All right, what do you think they're going to do? Let's move on to the Raiders.
What do you think they're going to do?
How do you think they're going to? I mean, I'm assuming that you think the same way I do. Just I said, lead the division.
We're going to make another Super Bowl run. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make it clear. Let's jump onto the Raiders. Finished 8-8 last year. And if I can find their name, I'll tell you a little bit about them.
Yeah.
They're there.
Raiders. Derek Carr.
Obviously, Derek Carr, yeah. Still slinging the rock back in there. A pickup that and kind of jumping past Derek Carr. Everybody knows he will stay consistent enough. I don't think he's taking anybody to a Super Bowl anytime soon.
No. I don't think he's Gruden's favorite person, being the quarterback whisperer, but he's making it work for him for now.
And I think he's above serviceable. I do like him. And it just says Derek Carr entering make or break year, which makes sense. He's never really done anything spectacular.
Yeah, it's that car. It doesn't have rust on it because he's not old enough, but it has ignition problems.
Yeah.
And like some games it will start, some games it won't. He has that problem, but he does have backup Marcus Mariota, like we already talked about. And
Oh, we got to mention Nathan Peterman though. He's there.
oh, Jesus, we're not. I don't even want to. The words might get in my mouth. But like I said, Derek Carr is a serviceable, like you said, serviceable. He did have 4,000 yards, but only 27 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. So I mean, I would say he's top 10 in the league, and that's hard to say. I don't think his quarterback IQ is that high, but he does give us the stats of an elite quarterback. The touchdowns could be higher, but I mean, 4,000 yards ain't nothing to scoff at.
No, absolutely. But this year in their offseason, I think they did a hell of a job. Picked up running back Kenyon Drake, who will now play behind
Josh Jacobs,
who is a phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I like Drake. I think he did well in Arizona. I don't know why he left. Maybe it was a money thing. I
don't have Drake's stats, but Josh Jacobs was already 1,000-yard running back. Caught the ball 33 times, got into the end zone for 12 rushing. So we all know what Drake can do. We've seen it on multiple teams.
Here we go. In 2020, played 15 games, started 13, 239 attempts for 5 yards shy of 1,000 yards.
Yeah, see, so almost 2,000-yard running backs in the backfield. I don't think Derek Carr is going to need to be that spectacular 5-star quarterback. I think he needs some wide receivers to throw to be honest. Because
which I'm glad.
Henry Ruggs, we all know that he's good.
They did pick up John Brown in the offseason,
which is a great pickup.
John Brown, Zay Jones, and Willie Snead.
Yeah, not the best receiving core to throw to.
So, yeah, you have Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards, John Brown, Hunter Renfrow. I know he's been having a little bit of I think it's his son has had some health issues or something. So I don't know how this season's going to play out for him. But yeah,
do they still have Darren Waller?
They do. Yep.
Darren Waller was 1,000-yard tight end last year.
Great tight end. Great, huge tight end.
It looks like, and I love it because his cleats look like basketball shoes. That's swag, if anything. I'll talk about swag. That's cleats, football cleats that look like basketball shoes. They don't even look like they're tied. They look like they're the type of shoes that are going to come flying off as he's running down the field. Not fast, because he's not a horribly fast tight end, but it looks like they're going to come flying off while he's running.
All right. Just say a couple things about the defense, and then we'll jump to the NFC South. We got about 15 minutes on here.
Yeah, this defense is the problem in this. Only had, 21 sacks last year, allowed 55 touchdowns total. That's where you're going to lose most of your games, if you're just allowing them into the end zone. The first round pick, they didn't go defense. They went defense in the second round with a safety, Trevin Moehrig out of TCU. I don't know where he's at on the draft, how high he is. Let me go in and look. I don't see him at all. Oh, yep, he's right in the starting lineup. You got to be able to improve on it. Shit. They got linebacker Casey Hayward. See, nothing crazy special pops out on this defense, and I think that's why they are the way they are. They got Yannick Ngankwe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I doubt it. But
Ngakwe, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I've heard it pronounced so much. Almost like a Giannis situation.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I think they pretty much stay consistent. Maybe they win one more game. They finished 8-8 this last year, probably 8-9 or 9-8, one of the two.
Yeah,
I don't see them making too many changes.
Yeah. All right. So that's the Raiders depth chart in a dumb nutshell.
So we got about 14 minutes. Let's go ahead and crush out the Chargers. In the offseason, picked up QB Chase Daniel. Obviously, you're not gonna be beating out good old Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Justin Herbert kind of took the league by storm, dude. I got an exorcism light going on.
You got a what?
An exorcism light going on. The light above me is like flipping in and out.
I thought that's what you said, but I wasn't entirely sure.
Justin Herbert taking the league by storm. 4,300 yards, 31 touchdowns, a 10 interception ratio. They're going to stick with him as much as they can, as long as no injury. God forbid no injury happens, but I like this white guy. Not too many white guys make us look good, you know what I mean? Athletically wise.
Yeah, and he attempted almost 600 passes, completed almost 400, 66.6% completion rate. He's accurate. He's got a good arm. I like him. But yeah, Chase Daniel's only going to come in if they're up by 40.
Yeah. They're hoping not to use. They signed him hoping not to use him. But moving on to running back, you got Austin Eckler, who's a dog. Melvin Gordon said, "I want more money." Austin Eckler said, "So do I, and I'm better." So step aside. Because damn. But he did only have 530 yards last year, but he only started 10 of those games. They had kind of a running back committee going on back there from a lot of different people. But he caught the ball 54 times, doing what Chargers love to do out of the backfield, even if it was with Phillip Rivers, throwing to the running backs. Caught the ball 54 times for 403 yards and 2 of those touchdowns. So not a crazy good fantasy score if you want to look at him that way, but I'm looking at him as like at a potential running back position, and I think he's a great running back. Same with Justin Jackson, who was there last year and did good as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the receivers is where this team shines. You know, you got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Tyron Johnson. Let's see what's next to his name. Oh, that's cool. I guess my camera just kind of wanted to do whatever it wanted to do.
Keenan Allen with 100 receptions. He was targeted 147 times last year. 8 yards shy of 1,000 yards. Had 8 touchdowns. Obviously, Keenan Allen, you could argue top 5 receiving in the game. Backed up by Mike Williams, who had 48 receptions himself, 750 yards. And then who's the third guy? Jalen Guyton, had 511 yards. So there's a lot of ball to be slung around by this young quarterback. It's just a matter of who you're going to throw to, because the running backs, the tight ends, and the wide receivers are obviously going to want all their share.
Yeah, sorry, I had a little camera issue.
You're good. And I didn't even get into tight ends. They have Hunter Henry, obviously, one of the top tight ends because they're slim pickings, but he was targeted almost 100 times, had 613 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, the receiving core is where it's at on this team. They went good in the draft. They decided to go offensive tackle, Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern, try to shore up that protection for my man.
Damn it.
What are you doing?
Dude, this camera keeps messing up. Go ahead and take me off, finish me out, or finish this
him
out. Because my yeah, because my camera just broke. We got about 10 minutes anyway.
But for my man Justin Herbert, he was the good quarterback. They decided to shore him up in the draft, like I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by Corey's fucking. I don't even know what he's having over there.
The face literally fell off of my camera.
Fucking Gary breaking shit. All right, is there any more? Obviously, we know Joey Bosa on the defensive end. While we get into that, is there anything? Derwin James, Chris Harris Jr., their defense is good as well. And what did they finish last year?
They finished 7-9.
7-9. See, I think they can do better than that.
Definitely look them.
Defense.
I'd say about 10 wins.
Spots. The defense is one of the lackluster spots. I'm not going to call any wins until I see their schedule because I think that's what's going to depend a lot upon it. And we all know injuries are part of the game. But along with defense, they had 27 sacks. Not good. They allowed 49 touchdowns. So obviously we know the defense is a faltering spot. But they do have some bright spots. Like I already mentioned, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Chris Harris Jr. on that defense. But the offense, the QB to wide receiver, I think Justin Herbert's going to throw for 5,000 yards this year.
Could happen.
I'm not betting any money on it.
Yeah.
I'm a baller on the budget as it is. I'm not going to be betting anything like that. But I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
AFC West. That's one strike through. Almost covering the whole team and what they're about to do. I'm Cody. That was Corey. Be sure to like and subscribe. Go ahead and if you have anything to add, any good accusations that we glossed over, go ahead and comment them down below, not in the descriptions. But be sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on all the social media. Those links are in the description. And this was Ballers on a Budget. And we're out.